I'm going to show you how to make the filling for a couple of Cornish pasties. It's fairly simple. There's mainly 4 ingredients. So I've got an onion, I've got a potato, each of those weigh about 80 grams, and I've got a very large swede. For those who are not familiar with swede, the way to prepare it is to top and tail it, and then using a sharp knife, go around the outside and take the skin off. The reason we top and tail it is we don't want you having an accident slipping off a round bottom of the swede. So do that and you'll see the inside of the skin. If it's not gone, it's a slightly different colour like that. So that's the swede. So what we're going to do is probably only need half of the swede. So we're going to put that to one side. Then we're going to cut my swede into slices. And then into dice. It's fairly important that you keep sizes similar because you need it all to cook at the same time. You don't want bits of raw swede or potato within your pasty. So the swede goes into a bowl like that, and we work on the tomato. The potato, same sort of process, into thick slices. And then into dice. This is probably one of the few dishes that you would do where you don't pre-cook things like the onion, potato before you assemble. And as you can see, it's a Cornish pasty, so it comes from Cornwall, and this is a type of recipe that's been going for years and years and years, hundreds of years in fact. So swede and my potato. With the onion, cut it in half. I'm just going to cut it into medium-sized dice, like that. There's no onion, sorry, there's no garlic, there's no ginger, there's no spice in this. So it is typically a British sort of peasant dish, which doesn't have any foreign ingredients like what we would say garlic and ginger and things like that. What I do like to put in though is a little bit of fresh thyme. That gives it a nice little flavour. And I've only got two sticks of thyme, but I'll put that in there. And then we have some meat. So this is a piece of steak. It's a piece of rump steak which has been batted out, and we just need, bearing in mind this is going to be in the oven for about 45 minutes, it just needs to be small enough so that it's going to cook in that period. So again, into little dice all the way along. And I've taken out some of the sinewy bits because we don't want tough bits in there. And here again, it's a bit of sinew. We're going to cut around. so that our pasty is nice to eat. Okay, get rid of my dirty things. So into there, I'm now going to add a reasonable amount of salt and pepper, because as I said, there's no garlic or anything like that in here. So we're going to put probably a teaspoon of salt in there, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. And we're going to mix it all up. I'm just actually I'm not sure I had enough beef there, so I have a little bit more in my fridge, so I'm just going to cut another piece of beef, probably another 30 or 40 grams. Seem to have quite a lot of swede and potato, but not a lot of steak. So that's it, I'm happy with that now. Good. So the next thing to do is to get our pastry from the fridge. Pastry you saw I made in a separate video earlier, and that's been in the fridge for about half an hour now. So I'm going to make two pasties, so I'm going to roughly split the pastry in two, and make sure you've floured your board nicely and your rolling pin. This is a much easier paste to work with than the sweet paste which we used in the video for the lemon tart. This one won't crack so much, so it's easier to work with. And I think we need to make this approximately the size of a normal sized dinner plate. And cut around your plate. So that gives us one. And then we'll roll out the second one. This pastry is probably a little bit thicker than your one for your lemon tart. We're looking at probably the thickness of two knife widths at the back. Not quite there. Good, that'll do. Now we have 2 circles. So the way we fill this is you take an imaginary line where you would fold it in half, fill your pasty with your mixture. Try to get an even amount of meat to vegetables. Like that. Just wash my hands quick. So now you should be able to seal this on its own, but we may use just a little bit of milk to help the process of crimping. And just put the milk around, probably just the one side, because that will be enough to seal it. Then carefully lift your empty half of pastry over, need to use your fingers to keep the meat and the vegetables into the pasty, because if you get it outside it will split open. Then the way they do it traditionally, they crimp, pick your finger and thumb together and kind of fold the pasty over. And I think if you look on Wikipedia, the official number of crimps on a traditional Cornish pasty should be 20. You can look that up for yourselves. This is the type of thing that in the olden days the man would go out into the field to work for the day on the farm, and his wife would bake him a pasty, which he could wrap up in some old newspaper or something in the old days, and it would suffice for a lunch or a late breakfast whilst they're working hard. Okay, so then we need a baking sheet which has been lined with some parchment paper. And those 2 pasties, what you could do if you wanted to make them fancy, leaf on top like that. That's not really tradition. it look a bit prettier. Okay, so they're now going to go into the oven 45 minutes at about 160 until they get a nice golden colour. I will do another video shortly with this when it comes out the oven, and I'll show you how to finish the lemon tarts. Okay, see you later.